Jordan is in the room, and there's never a dull moment on the federal side of the world. We have a new president and new nominees for all of the cabinet positions on down. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan now to talk about the federal side.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
Spots. Yep. Then I'll let you do that. Well, we're changing spots here. I just want to also bring up that if you have a question, and we didn't get this beforehand, but you can raise your hand. There's a little button to raise your hand. There's also a box on the side that there's a question box. You can certainly type your question in there. We'll have a spot when we're all done to answer those questions. But if we get those coming in, then we'll have that available when we get towards the end of the webinar. So sorry about that.
And I just add to what Jay said that's really an important part of this is to have the opportunity for you to share your thoughts, ask questions. That helps us a lot as we move forward and craft our positions on different bills. And so please be thinking about questions and get your questions in, because that's a really important part of what we're doing here this morning. So Jordan, go ahead.
Thank you, Steve. I'm just going to run through things fairly quickly, and you're not going to see a lot of detail on my slides, but I thought I would run through things and kind of give you a brief update, stuff that you probably have seen in the news and some stuff that you haven't. But, we had a contentious election, probably to say it lightly, with an extended list of candidates and characters, as you all know and remember, and it was on the Republican side and Democratic side. And the intriguing thing that I think this election came from was you see more probably in the way of contention after inauguration than what we've seen in a while. I would say historically, just to put everything in perspective, the election of 1800 was probably more contentious. So if you want to do your history, dig into that a little bit, and you can kind of see maybe a little bit where things could be. You obviously had folks that felt like winners and losers on this one, but besides the presidential election, we also had congressional elections that in a lot of ways were different than what was expected. You had Republicans maintaining majority in the House, which was not necessarily unexpected, but the few number of seats that Republicans lost in the House was kind of an unexpected twist. And then definitely in the Senate, and this is a harder map to read, red states and blue states are clear, but purple states are mixed delegations, and then you've got Maine and Vermont that have independents. But the Republicans maintained control of the Senate, which was something that most analysts did not think would happen. You had Republicans that went from 54 seats down to 52, and the assumption was that Republicans were going to lose an awful lot of seats, that now President Trump was going to bring the rest of the down ticket races away from Republicans. And if you look into next cycle, Republicans have an even better chance to pick up more seats. I don't say that as a one party versus another thing. It's just basic political math. The Republicans or Democrats have to defend about 2 times as many seats, and a lot of those seats are in states that either President Trump carried or in typically swing states, and so states like Missouri, Indiana, and other places. And so we'll see what happens moving forward here. Everything kind of culminated into last Friday with the inauguration of President Trump, and he has definitely, you could say, has gotten to work on a number of things, and Congress is obviously an important component of that, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But the President has already issued a number of executive orders and other executive actions that we'll talk about a little bit here. But obviously, the President has made it clear that he's ready to get to work. And here's just kind of a rough outline of some cabinet picks. My Veterans Affairs guy and Sonny Perdue got a little mixed up. This was a hard picture to come up with one that was fixed, so my guys got shifted down a little bit there. But there you can see are the cabinet nominees so far. Mr. Perdue and David Sulkin. The Veterans Affairs folks were ones I had to maybe come up with and edit a little bit because they were the last one selected. You know, we were supportive of Mr. Perdue. We feel that he's going to be a good nominee. He has a very good relationship with American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duval. Obviously, Zippy is from Georgia as well, and so he has said very good things about Sonny, and so we feel pretty confident in that pick. If you go down to the bottom of that picture, we talk about some cabinet level picks, and obviously a big one for us are trade and EPA. Mr. Pruitt with EPA is a fantastic selection for us. Obviously, there's been some concern expressed about his thoughts on the RFS. Scott Pruitt is the former Attorney General of Oklahoma, but and has made some I'd say less than positive comments about the RFS, but has tried to reassure Midwestern lawmakers and other folks that he will enact the RFS as Congress intended. And so, you know, I think there's a little bit more. Folks have taken a deeper breath and have felt more confident with the pick, but I guess we will see moving forward. But regulatory-wise, Mr. Pruitt is a very good pick, and you can see that from I think the line I used the other day at the the Young Farmer Rancher Conference, getting my conferences confused. But with the number of environmental groups that have screamed bloody murder since his pick, I think we feel very good about this election. And he's been right in the middle of a lot of environmental fights with us, WOTUS, greenhouse gases, and others. And so we feel good about that one. The U.S. Trade Representative selection, Robert Leitzinger, you know, I think we feel fairly good there. We'll have to see. The president's work on trade is one where, you know, you kind of have a little bit of, the way I've looked at it, and I've seen this a lot on some news stories and some political commentators, but for us, there's quite a bit of good Trump, and then every so often there's a little bit of bad Trump. And on the trade side of things, it's been a little bit more on the negative side, and so we will have to see moving forward what happens there, but we'll get into that in just a second. I'll talk a little bit about where we're at.